what Bayo said, and I'm a product designer, currently a product designer at Money Africa. And I'll be giving you guys, like, I'll be explaining what the usability testing methods that we have. But before we go into usability testing method itself, we need to really understand what usability testing is, right? We can't just go into the method of a particular thing without understanding. We can't just go into the method of a particular thing without really understanding what the thing is about, right? So that is when I'll be going into like the definition of usability testing. But before we really go into the definition of usability testing, I would like for us to like break it down into like two, because these are like two words coming together, right? We have like usability and we have testing itself, right? So we need to first understand these two things before we now join it together to understand what it is. So I would like, seriously, like at the thought of my head, I thought of like maybe like some of the audience like giving us a definition, but in order not to take time, or rather just explain it to myself, right? So to me, I would say like usability. So I'm explaining usability now. So I would say usability is like getting to interact, like you interacting with like a system or your computer, right? You're interacting with your computer and you are able to achieve a particular goal. That is what usability is. So let's say I come on my system and I want to go on Figma, for instance. I go on my system www.figma.com, right, and it opens, right, and I'm able to do my thing. So I'm able to like interact with the Figma product itself, and I'm able to like achieve my goal. If my goal is to design, if my goal is to do whatever thing, right, collaborate, right, I'm able to achieve that goal. That is what usability is. And then testing is like being able to like find out how well or how easy like something works, right? So I'm testing this particular thing. Let's say you are testing a, I'm looking for something, you are testing like a cup, for instance, and you are seeing, oh, how well the cup is easy to use, right? And there's a reason why the cup is designed that way. The cup is designed with the handle beside it, right? It's not designed on the edge of the cup, right? There's a reason why it is that way. There's a reason why it is designed like that, right? And with that process, the process of testing, you are able to like understand how well this thing is. And it is very possible that those that designed the cup, they've put like the cup on like on the cup itself, and they tested it and were able to see that, oh, this thing doesn't work that way. How well can we be able to do it? And then they placed it beside it. They placed the handle beside it, and they saw that, oh, okay, this actually is easy for these people to use, on like placing the handle on top of the cup, right? And then they were able to test it and see that that is how it is easy to use. So bringing like these two things together, right, you can now say that usability testing, that is the usability itself, which is like being able to achieve your goal and then making it easy, right? Usability testing is a process whereby your target audience or your users are able to easily understand, sorry, okay, yes, your target audience are able to effectively use your product, right? So we are using this product now, they can effectively use it. So let me give you an instance, which is also here. So you are designing like a product for like a logistic company, and then like a design itself for a logistic company, and then because we are designers now, right, so we have like so many thoughts in our head. So while you are designing, you design like the sign up process, and while designing the sign up process, you yourself, you felt like, oh, this sign up process is too long, because I've actually designed like logistic company, like logistic products before, and their sign up process can be a lot, right? They are uploading this, they're adding this and that, and then you feel like, oh, the process is a lot. So how you now feel like, oh, okay, so me feeling like this product is a lot, the sign up process is a lot. The only way you can know that, oh, your users are not feeling that same way you are feeling, is when you conduct like a usability testing with your users. So you are conducting like usability testing with your target audience at this point, right? To really know that, oh, these people, they find this process really effective, and they find the process easy, unlike what I thought of as the designer, right? And I will tell you that most of the companies in Nigeria, yeah, most of the companies in Nigeria, they don't like really conduct like a user research like we do, right? So the easier way to like test with users, because most times we just move on with assumption as an hypothesis, right? We go through our competitors' product, we do like some online research, market research, and then we now go on to designing our product, right? And the only way we can know that, oh, this thing that we are designing for our users is not wrong, right, is when we conduct like a usability testing with our actual users, right? Because before designing a product, you already know who and who is going to be using your product, right? So for a logistic company, right, you know, they have like three chains. So you have like the end users, you have the logistic itself. That's the person that is going to drive your that is going to deliver the product, who is the logistic rider, and then you have the person selling this product, right? So you know that the users can be like everybody, right, who is going to be buying this product. So on designing their interface or designing their product, you know that, oh, this is what they will not, this is what we need to show them, this is what they need to see, right? So at this point, you already know your target users, and then you are conducting a usability testing with your actual users, not just random users. You cannot be creating a logistic product and then you are testing with, let's say you are testing with a restaurant owner, right? So you have like a target audience, and your target audience are those you are going to be conducting your usability testing with. Yeah. So yeah, so the methods now, which is what we are, like the reason why we are here, right? Okay, so I think I gave an instance of like the cup the other time. So there's something I always want to say. Although we are digital, like we are product designers, UI UX designers, but we are digital product designers, right? So we design for web and mobile, and yes, so on the web and mobile, right? So I gave an instance of the cup the other time. So we are product. We will say we are product designers. Then we are going to be thinking outside the web itself, right? We are going to be thinking about physical products that has to do with jog cup. I don't know why I'm using jog and cup. We'll be thinking outside like digital products, co-op and all those things. And I would say that whenever we are making research, because usability testing like is a form of user research, right? So whenever we are making research, yes. So we are not thinking of the sorry, I'm looking for a way to put it. We are not thinking of the yes, we are not thinking of just the how it looks like on the web, right? There's this thing that a friend of mine will say. It will say that when you are building a product, right, first look at how this product is being done like manually, right? Or it's being done like before it is converted to web. Okay, so when you go to a bank, for instance, now you go to the bank, you want to save your money, right? Then you go to the bank, you get like a slip, you add informations on the slip, your account number, your name, and all these things, right? Then you give it to like a seller. I mean, I don't know if it's the teller because it's been long I've gone to a bank. But yes, you drop it at that desk to a lady, and then they send the money, right? So all these things are done physically. So you have to think about how it is done physically first before you can now say you want to digitalize it. You want to make it like a web product or a want to make it like a web product or a web product or a mobile application, right? Okay, yeah, so doesn't have to be necessarily like a digital product itself. Okay, so now to the methods that we are going to be talking about today. I made sure that these five methods, although we have like more methods, more usability testing methods, but I intentionally wrote down these five because these are the things that I know that even not one or two, these are the things that one of us or two, some of us would have come across right before. So I know phone interview and some other card sorting, right? These are things that some of us have actually like done before, right? And this is why I decided to label it to all these five. I think they're actually a lot, right? And while I'm explaining all these methods, I'm also going to be giving like when to apply them because we have like all these methods. We have phone interview, we have card sorting, we have this and that, right? But we cannot use some people actually have like some people do like two methods together. It's just like user research when people do like quantitative and qualitative methods, right? So the qualitative method like you speaking to users and all. And then the qualitative method is for you validating what you got from your qualitative method, right? So it is just like that. Some people conduct like two usability methods, and then the other one is just to validate what they got from the first method they did, right? So I'm going to be talking on these 5 methods and also when to actually use these methods. So yeah, so the phone interview. So I tried as much as possible to actually had like images to all these things. So you are seeing like an image. So even if you don't really get my explanation, I feel like the image should tell you like this is what I'm talking about, right? So first of all, we have like the phone interview, and I made this first because this is what like most of us do. We have like phones, and we make calls, right? So phone interview is a method of is one of the methods of usability testing. And I don't know if some people have done like normal like calling to conduct like user research where you call people to ask them questions, but you can also make calls, you can also like conduct usability testing by like calling people, right? So it's like done remotely. Normally you're not seeing the person physically when you're making calls, so this is done remotely, and then you call the person to ask, and you ask them to complete a task. And in the process of them completing that task, you are conversing with them, right? They are explaining things to you, and then you're also getting feedback from them. So they're explaining things to you. Oh, as I'm like working on this thing, this is what I came across, and I think this is what should be done. Or this button is not working very well on my end. Okay, do it this way, do it that way, right? But it is just like done on the phone, right? And when do you use usability testing? Sorry, when do you use like phone interview? So when conducting usability testing, you have like so many people, right? Because we know our target audience, and there are sometimes that our target audience they are not in our physical location. So what we just do at that point is you call them, and then you tell them to like to like perform the part on the task on their phone, and then they give you their feedback. But I will not really say that this is advisable because people are actually very biased. I won't lie to you. So there are sometimes that what people say is not what they are really doing. You get. So I won't really say this is advisable, although it is like a method of usability testing, and some people have actually done it and they saw that it worked for them. That is why they added it as part of the method. But for me, I would not advise it because people are saying this, but they are doing another thing. So because you are not seeing them, you cannot really say if what they are saying is what they're actually doing. So I don't know if that makes sense. But yes. So can you guys hear me before I move to the second one? Am I here?
Yes, we are hearing you.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, yeah, so cat sorting. Oh, so I'm very sure like majority will definitely know cat sorting because cat sorting is like a lot and it is actually very popular. So even if you are not doing like cat sorting physically, there are so many times that we have done like cat sorting like remotely where you go on like Miro, is it Miro? Yeah, Miro and Miro, and then Fig Jam, because Fig Jam is what we use. Where you go on Fig Jam and the Mirror to actually conduct like cat sorting. So cat sorting is actually done physically or remotely, right? It's done for where you now allow like your participants to you write out like some things. Let's say, for example, now you are trying to look for how your website is going to be structured. For instance, you want like let's say for instance for websites, the common thing is like the home page, the about us page, the contact us page, and all those things, right? But based on the type of services you offer or the service you offer, you feel like some things should be added, but you don't know how you want it to be structured. But you already have like your target audience, or not necessarily your target audience, you already have like people patronizing your service already. Let's say it is like a store, but you want to like make things like you want to digitalize it. Let's say like an e-commerce store right now. You now want to create like an e-commerce like platform where people can now come to at this point, right? So you write out like all the features that you feel like the product should have, or how you think that the information architecture of your product should look like, right? And then you now place everything on a table, and then you now call your users in to help you arrange it the way they feel like they want it to look like, right? So your users are coming in, your target audience are coming in, and on the table they are arranging it. Oh, I think like this should be placed this way. This should be placed this way. This should be placed here. This should be placed here. This should be placed here, right? So you are not the one doing it right now, because most companies, most companies, right, is people in the team that actually do it. But in a normal setting, it's your users that are supposed to be arranging these things, right? Because they are the one using your product. So there's no product without the users, right? So they are the one using your product. So they are the one that know how they want it to look like. Not you deciding for them, but you want them to decide for themselves, because they are the one that will end up using it. So now you have like various cards, and these various cards are always with like various colors, like different colors. Some can be yellow, green, and whole, right? And then they are arranging it the way they want it to be placed, right? So I'm coming to your website. I'm coming to this platform. I want to be able to see like cards on the navigation. I want to be able to see like my amount, the price. I want to be able to see this and that, right? These are the things that card sorting do. And yes, and after they are done like doing this, arranging it the way they want it to look like, then you are now asking them, okay, why do you want it to look this way? So they are not just doing it and then leaving. They need to give reasons why they are arranging it the way they made it, the way they arranged it, right? And so yeah, so when to we use like card sorting? So you card sorting is mostly like when you're trying to create like information architecture, like I just said, like information architecture. And then because you cannot create like you cannot finish like creating your design, and then you now create card sorting, and then you now bring your users in for card sorting. It is not done, because you are trying to arrange it. Your users are arranging it based on how they want it to be done, right? So you cannot now go to design, cannot create to finish your design, and then you're not coming back to this method. It is not done that way. So it is when you are still creating your information architecture, you are trying to create like your wireframe. That is when you have like card sorting done. Yes. So at this point, users are able to understand how they will navigate on, or you yourself and the users, you're able to understand how they would be able to navigate while using like product. That's why coming on your platform. Let me just put it that way. Okay, so gorilla testing. Amazing. Okay, so this gorilla testing, like I'll just say like, although all the articles I've read, they're kind of saying that it is like cheap, but to me, I would say gorilla testing is expensive, right? Okay, so what is gorilla testing? So gorilla testing is, let's say, done when you go to like physical location, right? Let's say, for example, you go to like a restaurant, and then you go with like you've already done your design, maybe wireframe. It can be wireframe. It can be like your normal sketch, because people do actually like test like sketch itself. So you might have done like your wireframe, you might have done like your sketch, you might have done your sketch, and you might have done like the sorry, you might have done like the high fidelity design itself, right? And then you now go to these stores to like test with people. So these people might not necessarily be like the actual audience, like your actual target audience itself. So you are just testing with like people, like random people, to get their thoughts about the product. So you also hear their thoughts, like their random thoughts about the experience of the product. Let me put it that way. So the way I defined it here is that gorilla testing means going into a public place, like I said earlier, and then asking people about your prototype. So you already did like the prototype itself, and then people are testing your prototype. And then test participants are choosing randomly. We are asked to perform a quick usability test, often in exchange for a small gift. So why won't you say now it is expensive? Why will you not say that it's cheap? I'm testing with you, and then I'm not testing for free. So if I go to a restaurant and I see like a lot of people, and I tell them that, sorry, please, I have this product. I feel let me test this product with you and see and hear your thought about this product, the experience. I want to know your thought about this product. I want to know like the experience, how you feel about this product, right? How easy is this product for you when you were navigating the product, right? And some of them will say, oh, I'm not doing it for free. You give me money, you give me food. Right? It's not free. Okay. Yeah, so like I said earlier, also, it is important to understand that test participants for gorilla testing might not represent your product target audience, which I said, but would just be like random people in the restaurant that you probably want to test with. So this image is like the coffee, like a coffee shop, but here, so restaurant. So they are testing your product and then they are giving you like their thought about the product and also the experience. And you're also seeing it like by yourself how easy or hard it as the experience being for the users to navigate. Right. So when can you use like gorilla testing? So gorilla testing is actually very like is used like the early stage of your design, which I said because you are not testing with the actual target audience. So if you are testing with random users, then it is actually done like at the first phase of at the early stage of your design, right? When you have like the wireframe or sketch ready. Sorry, and this would definitely help you know if you are moving in the right direction, which I said. So since it is not physically, you get to see the user's reaction. Yes, definitely. Because at this point, users are reacting to your product. So yeah, and I would always say that it is advisable to tell users to always speak up, right? So there's this method, yeah, there's this is it speaking out loud or thinking out aloud. Yes, this method because when you are conducting like a usability testing, you always tell users that they should not like keep whatever they are feeling. So if you feel like something is not working, don't keep it to your mind and trying to struggle with it. Just speak it, just say it out loud. I feel this thing is not working, this thing is not good, right? Let me know that what you are feeling. Let me know what you are currently feeling right now. Don't keep it to your mind and then keep struggling with it. It is when you say it out that is when I will know that there's a problem as the moderator or as the facilitator or as the product owner or usability tester. That is when I will know that yes, this is a problem, and then I will look for a way to like solve this problem. So we try as much as possible to when conducting like gorilla testing, try as much as possible to watch how this all these users are feeling or how they are reacting to the product. So if you see that something because you're actually tracking, there's actually like a metrics man. Okay, so there's a metrics, right? You want you might actually give yourself like, oh, okay, for this feature, I feel like the users before you actually test this product, you feel like for this particular feature, I feel like this user should not. That's before you conduct like usability testing. I feel like this users should not spend more than 2 to 3 minutes on this feature, right, before they can achieve their goal, right? But when conducting usability testing, you are seeing that something you thought would be like 2 minutes, you are seeing that the user is already struggling with 6 minutes. And the 6 minutes, they've not even done what they want to do. Then you know that there's a problem, right? And even when the users are not saying it, but because you already done it as a designer, right? And you feel like this is how long I think this thing needs to take. But it is taking longer than that. Then even if when the users are not seeing it, you know that there's a problem. And you can write it down as one of the things that needs to be fixed. Because the reason why there is usability testing, you conduct usability testing and then you go back to iterate, right? Just to make things easier for your users. But when you see that there's a struggle or your metrics are not working, then you know that there's a problem. So try as much as possible to watch so try as much as possible to watch how these users are reacting to the product, what they are with their body, what is it again? Their body language, exactly. So their body language towards the product, right? Try as much as possible to watch it because their body language might be different from what they're saying. And might even be different from what they are doing. It's a lot of work. But yeah, it will be done eventually. Okay, so lab usability testing. So lab usability testing. So I want to call lab usability testing like moderate usability testing. And I think this is what like most of us we are used to, right? Most people that like conduct usability testing. Let me put it that way. The lab one, which is the moderate and the unmoderate, right? And this is like run in a physical setting, unlike unlike Sorry, yeah, or like the gorilla testing where you like do it like in a random place. But for moderate or lab usability testing, you are like in a confined environment with like laboratories, but not necessarily laboratories. In both people, they'll say laboratories, but might not necessarily like a laboratory. Might be like in your office, like let's say like a particular place in the office, maybe a quiet place. And when conducting like a lab usability testing, you have like a moderator, and then you have like your device itself, right? Where they get to like, because if it's a mobile app, I would say if it's a mobile app, I would advise people to always, if you are designing a mobile application and you want to test for mobile applications, I will always advise people to prototype and then make your users go through like the mobile app, like the mobile application, the design on their mobile phone, right? Not like on the system, but on their mobile phone. And if it is like a web product, make sure they are using like their laptop or their desktop to like perform this testing. So yeah, so if you are using like your mobile, if it's a mobile application, you have like the moderator, you have the moderator. So the moderator is like the person that you can be a moderator, right? But for an advanced company, you have like moderators that actually conduct these things. So these moderators, they are there. Sorry. So you have like these moderators there. You have your users or your target audience, right, who you are going to be testing with, and you also have like the your device itself, right? And in this environment, you have all these things in place. And like I said during the gorilla testing, you are also testing like with people, and then you are watching their behavior, and then you are also testing with them, telling them to speak out, just like the gorilla set testing, telling them to speak out and all, right? But yeah, you have like a professional person, unlike the gorilla testing, where you can like I can decide to like test myself and then carry my laptop and then go to like a restaurant and test with people. But for this moderate or lab usability testing, you have like your expert, you are in like a confined place and you are testing with them. So you are telling them to speak up. You are, yes, you are telling them to speak up. So as they are performing their tasks, they are speaking to you. You're also directing them on how like it should be done, right? Although when performing like usability testing, it is always advisable to just leave users to do like what they want to do. Like just leave them, let them perform their tasks, and then you are watching them. But the reason why you have like a moderator is for them to like ask questions from the moderator. Oh, I'm not getting this. How do you think I should do this? Right. But you're not necessarily like if it's a like a mobile app, you're not necessarily taking their phone and they're clicking it for them or telling them, oh, click on this and then don't worry to take you to this place. Right. They are just asking you questions and then you are giving them answers to their questions. You are giving them like feedback, like what is said here. And yet you are really you are conducting like with your users, like a target audience and then your users, right? Sorry, target audience might not necessarily be, or target audience might not necessarily be like your users. I don't know. But your target audience, like they are those that would patronize you, like you feel like would patronize you, right? And they might actually still patronize you, but your users are those that would now consume your product, right? So your users might, so yeah, so sometimes our target audience might not be our users. I don't know if that makes sense. But yes, so that's it. So, but for yes, so yeah, so you have like your moderators, you have your moderators or facilitators, right? And then they are going through your product, and then you are asking them questions, they're giving you answers, right? And then yeah, so when should we use like a lab or moderate like usability testing. So lab usability testing is best used when you need like an in-depth understanding or in-depth information on how real users like interact with your product at that point and the issue they face, right? Because you are seeing them, they are doing these things, right? And then they are speaking to you. They are not in one place where like this and this person is distracting you, but it's just both of you like in that place. And then you are seeing how they are interacting with your product. So it is giving you like in-depth understanding, and then you are asking questions, or they're asking you questions, and then you are giving answers, right? At that point. So yeah, so it gives you like in-depth understanding of how like your users are going to be using your product. Yes. And also you're seeing like their behavior, like I said earlier. Like learning or watching like users' behavior is really very important because these users they can be very funny. Okay. So on moderate like usability testing. So the first one I mentioned was like lab, which is also moderated, and then this is like the unmoderated, right? So the unmoderated like is done remotely. So like I said, the lab or the moderated is like done physically. You are seeing the person. You guys are in like a space together. You are seeing the person one on one like this. So you understand. You are seeing them. Unlike the unmoderated where the person is remotely, where you are conducting this usability testing remotely. So mostly by Google Meet, right? Which I'm very sure like some people might be used to. So you are doing it remotely, and then you might probably not have like a moderator at that point, because a moderator is like when you have the person physically, the person is directing your users on what to do, or not necessarily what to do, or you're asking them questions, right? But at this point, because it is remote, so there's no need for a moderator at that point. So at this point, your users are, and me, I will always advise that if you are using like Google Meet, for instance, you would tell them to like present their screen, right? You are not necessarily seeing them, but you tell them to present their screen, and then you can see how they are interacting with your product at that point, right? And then you also advise them to speak loud, because that speaking loud is really very important. Thinking aloud, to like think aloud. You tell them to like think aloud, and then yes. So this is actually very cheap. And because there's no moderator, there's no need for you to pay moderator. They are not coming to your space, right? So it's actually kind of cheap. And then users are you are testing with your users. So so I would say that you can use this to actually validate what you got from like moderate your moderated like usability testing, right? Oh, we already did this moderate moderated usability test or the lab usability testing. So now let us validate all the results that we've got then. So now you've done like the moderated usability testing, you've gone back as the designer, you've gone back to your team, you guys have done like the iteration at that point, iteration based on the things that you got or the things that users said during the moderate usability testing. You've done the iteration, right? And then you now want to like validate everything you've done. So at that point, you can now conduct like a unmoderated usability test. You don't necessarily have to see these users at this point, but you just tell them to like share their screens and also speak to you on how well they feel like, okay, how easy is this product? How easy is it for you guys to navigate, or how easy is it for you to navigate, and how well do you understand the products while you going through like the usability testing the usability method, right? So how well is it for you to understand at this point? So yes, you are trying to validate, although there's no actual way to really use it. You can decide to start with unmoderated usability testing and then end up with moderated usability testing, right? So there's no actual method for you to like say, okay, this is like the method. I'm talking about the unmoderated and moderated though. So there is no actual method to always say, oh, we have to do this moderated first before we do the unmoderated, right? So you can decide to do one before another or do one before another, but just be sure that this method I'm using is what really give me the result I'm looking for. Right. And then so when should we use like this unmoderated usability testing? So unmoderated is done remotely, like I said, and works best when you need to obtain like large samples of proven critical findings from your initial moderated research. Oh, okay. So I said that before. In other words, you have a particular hypothesis that you want to validate on a large segment of your users. Yes. So just like the user researcher, you have like quantitative. I keep going to user research. So just like the user researcher, you have qualitative and qualitative, right? So you have to validate one over another. So same thing with this, right? You are trying to validate, oh, based on the responses that we got from our users. So let's try to validate if we are still working based on what what we got from them while conducting the moderated, or we have actually backslided. We have gone and do our design based on our own knowledge. Because that's what we mostly do in this Nigeria. We feel like, oh, users will like this, right? We feel like users will like this and that. And then they end up not liking it. So yes, so it is very important to like validate, right? And during validating does not necessarily mean that what you validated would work, right? You can still validate and then still feel like, oh, some things needs to change, then you go back and change. And that's what product design is about. You go back, you go back, you test, and after testing, there's a need for iteration, you iterate, and then you iterate and go back to test again. So you might not just test once, you can test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times before you get what you really need. The most important thing is for your users to be happy with your product. And before you push out what your users don't want, so sorry, conduct usability testing. And then while conducting usability testing, you are very sure that, oh, when we push this product out, users would happily like use our product, right? Because while creating our product, we have done our testing, and while doing our testing, we are sure that this is what our users want, or this is what our target audience wants, and this they would definitely like buy our product, right? So some companies or some products that when they push out, they now start saying that, oh, users don't want this product or users don't like this product. It's because they didn't like conduct stability testing. And I would say that this thing can be quite tricky because while conducting ability testing, you are conducting it with like few people, right? So you are not conducting like a large amount of people. So you are conducting like, let's say, 10, 15 people. But when you now push it out, you have thousands of people. And then you now end up seeing that almost it's like this thing, users are not getting it, or they don't want it to. Users are not getting, they don't want it, right? But to actually avoid these things, right, that is why usability testing is really very important. Because even with the fact that they don't want it, but there are people, some people that want it. And the reason why you are able to see that, oh, some users want it, because we're not like ourselves. Not everybody would use our product. Not everybody will use our product, right? But the reason you are able to see that, oh, this person needs my product more than another person is because you have done your research and then you have also done your testing. Yeah. So now, in conclusion, I hope I've not said my conclusion before. So conducting usability testing reduces the risk of building like the wrong product, which I've said earlier, thereby saving you time, money, and other precious resources. Like we'll say that even if we are not product owners, but as product designers, we'll say that designing a product like takes a lot of energy from us. Like I don't know about others, so when we're designing products takes a whole lot of energy from me myself. I cannot talk about others, but it takes a whole lot of energy from us, right? And then for the product owners also, if we are freelancing, people are paying us. If you are working with a company, right, they're also paying a salary for the services you are offering them, right? Which is the design product, right? So at this point, they're also spending their money, right? And I would say that in as much as companies don't actually buy usability testing, most of these companies in Nigeria, they don't do user research, they don't do usability testing, they don't do anything. Like, and it's so frustrating. But I would say that we should try as much as possible to push it to them. Because if we are not speaking to users, please let us test this product. And this is what one of my friends, she said when she got to her company, this was something she actually begged like the CEO to bring in. So we are not conducting user research with our actual user. Please let us test with them, right? So we'll not push out this product and people will start insulting the company. Like, what did these people do? What did they design? Why did they waste their money? Right. So when you conduct usability testing, you'll be able to know that this product we are building is the wrong product, because like I would say, there are some products that it is needed, but it is not needed like right now. There are some products that we are building and they'll be needed like in 5 years' time. People don't need it now, but they will need it in 5 years' time, right? So there are some products that it is needed, and there are some products that we need now, but they are designed wrongly. You get. So with usability testing, you are able to understand like this particular thing, and they are able to know that, oh, let's build this thing now. And even with usability testing, you are also able to know that, oh, okay, so we need to remove this feature because users don't need this feature at this time. Like, so let's bring in this feature, let's say a year later or 2 years later, right? On like having like a lot of feature on the product. So with usability testing, we are able to like understand it. And with usability testing, you are able to validate your assumptions and also determine whether users will find value and utility in your product, which is also true. Which I also said, we don't conduct like user research. So most times we just go on like creating hypotheses and assumptions, right? So with usability testing, you are able to know that, oh, these assumptions that I came up with, or these hypotheses that I came up with is something that is needed now, or is something that will work, right? Or is also something that won't work, right? So you, which is ability testing, you're able to know this. And also you're able to know this before you launch the product, not just launching the product and then you are getting bad boosts left and right, front and back, and then you are crying. There's no need to cry, because if you have done your usability testing, you have cried before, and then when you are launching your product, you are now smiling. But not when the product is now launched, you are not crying, which can be a very terrible cry at that point. So yes, so at that point again, you have like minimal loss, and then sorry, when you're doing usability testing and when doing all these things, you have like less loss, and also it will even cost you less, right? Because yes, you've done your research, you've done your usability testing, and also no one will use your product if it is not easy, yes, or it does not solve a problem which is supposed to solve. User testing allows you to confirm all this in advance, so you can market with confidence. Exactly. So you can market with confidence exceptions of how your product will perform. Yes, like what I said earlier. So when you've conducted usability testing, you know that, oh, this feature is easy for our users to use. And then at that point, even when you launch at that point, there's this boldness. Sorry, there's this boldness, and then there's this confidence and boldness in you, because you've conducted your usability testing. So at that point, even when there's bad growth, you have like less bad growth from your users. You have like less like feedback and less negative reviews from users at that point, right? And then you are able to you will know that, oh, when this product is launched, people will buy to the idea. People would like to use our product at that point. So yes, so I have come to the end of like my usability testing methods, and I don't know if this has helped, but yeah, I tried as much as possible to make it like very easy for people to use. Okay, so one last thing I will say is, so how do you conduct like usability testing? Like, how do you conduct like a usability testing method? So I'm going to be talking on the moderated usability testing method, because that is what I have used, right? So I'm going to be talking on it, right? So before you like conduct the method, before you like conduct like usability testing or the moderated usability testing, which I feel like I should have said earlier, if I conduct like a moderated usability testing, you would have like prototype, because it's definitely a prototype. Not after development, you are now conducting a usability testing. No, it is not done. So you already did your design, created your design, you already done like the prototype. So what you are testing with your users are interactive prototype. So you already done like interactive prototype, and then you share the link with like other members of your team if you have a team, or you share with your friends if you have like friends like freelancers. You share like with your friends and you tell them to like use the product, right? And then on using the product, you are not particular about what they feel at that with the product at that point. But you want to know if there's like there's something that you didn't do right. Let's say like a screen that you didn't like interact that wasn't prototyped well, right? You're able to get this at that point. And then if there's like going to be feedback from like your team also, they're also getting their feedback and then going back to like work on the feedback. And then with that you will like come up with what you want to achieve, because for you having like the usability testing, for you going conducting usability testing, you would have a particular thing you want to achieve. Like, do you want to make the things easy for users? If it's based on conversion rate, so how easy is it like for these users, for this thing to convert people, right? And for this particular screen, if it's for like a screen or for a feature, so how easy is this? How easy can, let me use like a button for instance. So how easy is this button easy for users to see? I don't know if that makes sense. But yes, so how easy is it for these users to like perform a particular task, right? So you can give yourself 20 minutes, 30 minutes at that point. And then also you test it with yourself also. And then you write out questions that you want to ask your users because you're asking them questions, right? You ask questions. That is before the actual usability testing, right? So the first thing is to like share links with your team members or your friends, and then you test. If they have feedback, you go back to work based on the feedback that I got from them, and then you write out like what you want to achieve from the usability testing, and you will also like write out questions you want to ask from your users. So for the day of your usability testing, you have like the actual users with you. So at that point, you have your actual users. You share like the prototype with them, definitely, because that is why they are there. You share the prototype with them, you tell them to speak out loud, because they must speak out loud, and then you watch like the way they are behaving. Like I've always explained, you watch the way they are behaving, you watch the way they are behaving and also what they say, right, and how they perform their tasks. And you watch if what they are doing works in line with the metrics you are written down, right? And also you ask them the questions that is being written down. So how were you able to do this? What do you think that what do you think that will make this easier for you as a user? And how well do you find this easy? Right? Everything is just making things easier for them and them being able to achieve their goal as fast as possible. Because I'll tell you, if I'm able to, if I use a product and if I use like two competitors' products and I see that with this product, what I want to do, I'm able to do this thing in 30 seconds. And the other competitor's product, what I will the same goal I will achieve with this product in 30 seconds, I will achieve this thing in 5 minutes. I bet you. I kid you not. I'm picking the one for 30 seconds because I have other things I'm doing. I don't want something to waste my time. So I'm using the one with 30 seconds. So you're making sure that this thing is easy for them to do and they are able to achieve their goal, right? Then after that, based on the questions that you've gotten, sorry, based on the answers that you've gotten from your questions, and also the things that you like learned based on what they were saying, speaking out loud, based on their behavior and all, then go back to your team. Then that sorry, that is after like the usability testing. Then you go back to your team, you guys discuss, right? You guys brainstorm, right? You brainstorm on like solutions, and then you go back to iterate as designer, and then you come back again to conduct like your usability testing. So yeah, thank you very much. I think I said a lot. So thank you very much. So yeah. So once again, my name is Adenike Adesawoye. And yes, so if you have any question, I think this is the time to like ask me questions. Thank you very much. I hope I've been able to like explain what usability testing is and also the method of usability testing. Thank you. Okay, for people that are raising their hands. Okay, so you guys can ask your question. You guys can unmute and then ask your questions.
All right, good evening once again. Thank you very much. I gained a lot. Now, I have two questions actually. First
Okay.
one is how many usability testing methods can we use for a particular project? Can we combine as many as we feel it's okay, or there's a
Sorry,
limit to the number of.
I'm finding it hard to hear you well. If you can, it's like you are in a close place. So it's like I don't know the echo.
Can you hear me better now?
Yes, so this is better.
Okay. Now, my first question is, can we use more than one method for a particular product, or there's a limit to the number of methods we can use?
Of course you can.
And
Okay.
okay, yeah, my second question is, at what point in your usability testing method do you gain the confidence that you've done a good job, and no matter how you cannot please everybody, yes, you have thousands of people using the product after you've launched, but you have this confidence that you've already achieved, you've done something, so the feedback you'll be getting would be very, very little. At what point do you gain that confidence that you've done a good job?
So let me start with the first question. So which is like, can you use more than one method? So yes, of course, I think I said it earlier. Yes, you can use more than one method, right, to conduct your usability testing for your user. You can use like more than one usability testing method. That is why we don't have like just one particular method. So you can use as many methods as possible. So just be sure that the method you are using is in line with the answers that you want to get from your product, right? So if I'm using like the phone interview method, for example, now, so you must be very sure that the phone interview method that you are using is giving you would give you like the answer that you want, right? So yes, so just be sure that the method you are going to use would give you like the answer that you want. And also you can also use a method to validate another method that you did, right? So you used like the moderated, for instance. So I'm using the unmoderated. So you now want to use the unmoderated. So why are you using the unmoderated? You are using the unmoderated because you want to validate the answers that you got from your moderated. You want to be very sure that, oh, okay, so based on the answers I got, I've gone back to iterate, right? And I want to be sure that, okay, oh, the answers I got is still in line with what my users are going to be getting, or it's still in line with the product goal. For instance, yeah, it's still in line with the product goal. So you can use as many as possible, just to ensure that you are able to like achieve, is able to give you answers to the questions that is worrying you as the product owner, as the product designer, and also answers that you feel like would also solve your problem. Let me put it that we don't let me talk so much. And then yes, so for the second question, which is at what point? Oh, at what point? So I feel at what point, I can't say at what point, but I feel like deep down, even as human being, I feel like when something is right, you know deep down in you that it is right, right? So you conduct the ability test, and you've done the first time, second, you've done the first one, and then you conducted usability testing, you go back to iterate, you come back, gone back, you gone back to iterate, and then you come with your users, they iterate, sorry, they test again, and then based on the testing that you did, you saw that, oh, these users are still having issues, right? You go back again to iterate and then come back again. So I will say that the when you can feel like, oh, this thing is ready to be launched, is when you see that your users are finding your product really easy. So things that were problem for them before, when conducting another usability testing, they are now finding it really easy. So like I said, you have like a metrics that you are tracking. So if you have like, let's say I'm giving my users like 20 minutes or 3 minutes to do this thing, but now you're conducting like usability testing. Something you're thinking with 5 minutes before, your users are now doing it in 1 minute, right? And then things that are like really hard for them before, they are not finding like really, really easy. They're achieving their goals in like in twinkling of an eye. Then you can say that, oh, now this thing like is a go ahead. Let us push it to the target, or let us push it to the public. Although pushing it to the public again, there'll still be like a lot of like feedback from people. But yes, definitely it is minimal at that point. So yes, I don't know if I've been able to like answer your question.
Yes, you have. Thank you
Okay.
very much.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Can I
All
go on?
right.
This is,
I hope
okay.
Matthew, I hope your questions you have been satisfied with the answer given to you on the question you asked.
No, I was not the one that asked the question. I just want to ask mine now.
Okay, Matthew, you can go. You have the floor.
Okay, okay, thank you so much. You mentioned something about whenever you are pushing out a product that your user are not your target audience. Firstly, I don't really understand that. I just wanted you to explain that aspect. And secondly, you mentioned all the method at which you do your usability test, the method you explain. I saw that I saw those method you analyze, and to me, it is very sure that most companies do not go through those things. So I was saying that, okay, for instance, if someone wants to use, you were mentioning about taking your product to a prototype level, there's that means that for a user to test that product, let's imagine, okay, I'm designing an app and I need people to, okay, my goal is I want to see how fast people are signing up on that app. So that app, how is it going to be on a prototype that they are going to be able to easily access a prototype, not the real app? Probably the people need to develop it to an extent. Like,
You good? Yeah.
yeah,
Hello.
hello. I hope you
Um,
get my
well,
question, because a prototype is not really so is not really so accessible for you to like it is not like the real, they are not interacting it like the real products. It's just like I put up a prototype and ask them to check it out. They might not really understand how it works unless the one activated on it, the one that activates on that prototype for it to work. So I think, I'm looking at the process, developing that app to an extent, then pushing it out, then going back to the ideation. I'll be like, oh, this thing was not set right. I was looking at the kind of back and forth that would be there, and just kindly explain the user and the target audience perspective. Just explain that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, okay. So, Jesus. Okay, for the user and target audience, I think I've said a lot. I didn't even know I said users and target audience. Okay. Okay, so for the users and target audience, I would say users and target audience is mostly for like physical goods, right? Not like necessarily like web product, digital product, but mostly like physical goods. So what I know about target audience and then users. So let me give you an instance now. I go to a store. So that is why I said it is physical good. So I go to a store, or let's say, let me give Christmas for instance. So for whoever makes a shoe, for those making a shoe, they are making a shoe for people to buy, right? So their target audience will be like, let's say, people, women. Okay, let me use female heels for instance. So their target audience will be like females, right? Females who wear heels, right? Those are their target audience. So they feel like, oh, for heels, you have like adults, you have children, right? CC, like young teenagers and all to buy the heels. Their target audience are females, right? So those are their target audience. So, but those that are going to be using the products might not, that's the user, might not be the person that bought the product. So that is why I said, let me use like a woman, for instance. So for the woman, I'm a lady and I go on to buy a shoe from a store, right? I'm buying their target audience is me as a woman. For me buying the shoe, I might not be the end user, which is the user. So I'm buying it, but I'm not the one using the product. The person using the product might be my younger sister. I'm buying it for my younger sister now, right? So I don't know if you understand. But I'm the target audience.
Yeah, I understand.
Exactly. So I'm the target audience for the product owners, but I'm not the end user. I'm not the user. The user is my sister. I don't know if it makes sense.
I get it. Just like selling a school product for the parents and the
Exactly,
children.
exactly. So the children are the user, but they are not the target
Yeah,
audience. Their target audience is
exactly.
the parents. Exactly. So that's the difference between a target audience and then the user, right? They are two different things. So what's the other question again? Okay, so for the
The other
prototype,
question. Okay.
okay, yeah. So for the prototype, and that's tricky because you have Okay, so that's very tricky. So people, you don't want. Okay, so you feel like the product should be developed, like to be developed because of the way like users will interact with it. But I would say that you are saving like developers time, because it can be frustrating. Even me, I know how users can be sorry, what am I saying that? Developers can be frustrated if they use one color. If you use one color as a designer and then they're not gonna change you do development, you are now doing like the normal developers and key feedback, right, that you have when they are implementing your design, and then you now tell them to change one or two fixes. I know how they can be really, not, I will not say aggressive, but I know how they can be really sad about the whole thing. Now talking of when they are, when they've now done a lot of development, they've gone, they've coded, they've developed it, they've done everything, and then they now go out, we now get test, and then users are now saying they don't want this, they don't want that, we want you to remove this, we want you to add that. Man, they'll just leave the thing and say they are not doing it again. So I feel like to save time, to save resources actually, because some of them they would have bought like something, they would have done that, right? So to save resources, to save time, to save you time as a designer, to save the developer time, to save the company time, self and resources, it's advisable to work with prototype. Although I know that there are some parts where, like let's say like the input field now, right? Users cannot, when they're prototyping, users might not be able to like type in their email address. Let's say like the sign up process, they might not be able to like I type in their full name, their email address, their password, and all, right, at that point, because it has not been developed. But me as a designer, what I do is I design the I design like the empty state where you have like the inactive state for the button, and you also have like the default setting for the like the you have like the default setting for like your input field, right? Whoa, am I here?
Yes.
Okay. You have like the default setting for
Yeah,
your
yeah, yeah, yeah.
okay, you have my system screen went off. You have like the default setting for your input field. You also have like the imputed state, right? Where you've imputed everything, and you also have like the active state. So when you are doing like when you are doing like your usability testing at that point, what I do is you share the screen with them and you tell them to click on your, so you already prototyped it. You already prototyped the default state for your input field to your like the white the typed what is that, the typed face or the typed field, yes, the typed in field, what you've already typed in, and you just tell them to just click on it, like for full name they click on the full name, the field, and then it just pops up like all the information, and you make them understand that this is a prototype, right? A prototype is not the finished product. So you make them understand that this is a prototype, and you don't necessarily have to be your information. We are just trying to test like the product at that point. You get, and then I think they should be able to understand that. Based on my own little experience, I think they've been able to understand, right? But yeah, I think they should be able to understand that it is not the finished product; it is a prototype. So whatever you are doing here is just to make us give like a better experience. So although they are not getting like the full experience, but yes, it's just to, yeah. I hope I've not said like a lot of nonsense, but yeah. So was I able to understand? So was I able to answer your question, or you need more?
Yeah, yeah, I guess I was able to. You were able to answer. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Okay, so Dada Olayinka, you want to
All
ask
right.
the question?
Yes, ma. Thank you for the session. It was really wonderful. So I've heard of I use Miss Designs to do my usability testing. So I was wondering if there is. My question is what site now, or should I say design site, is recommended for usability testing, like to create a link for users to send to users to
Sorry,
come.
sorry, I didn't really get that question. Like, do you mean that what site?
Okay.
Okay,
Yes, like what sites, like the way there is Design. So I want to know if like I want to know the recommended one to use to create link to send to users like remotely.
okay. So I can't really say, because I've never used like a usability testing product before. I have never used. The ones I use is the one I have used. If I say no sense, the one I've used is like sharing like the normal Figma link with them and making them like test with it. Right. That is what I've used before. But I think there are quite a lot. There's one that I saved on my system, which is I think usability. Yeah, I know of that miss.co because my friend like they say it a lot. And I think there's one usability testing website, Useberry. Yeah, useberry.com. I won't like see how it is used because it's not something I've experienced before and it's not something I've used before. So I don't want to give you like the wrong answer. So I don't know how it is done because the ones I do are moderated and non moderated. So I don't know how working with a web, like the web products for usability testing, I don't know how those are done. But based on I think there was a time I watched like a video on how Maze.co is done. And I think what they do, I'm not sure, but I don't want to say nonsense. But I think what they do is you share like a link. I think you have like you enter your target audience and then the product finds like target audience to test your product. I don't know. And I will also say that when you are using all these products, sorry, when you are using like a usability testing product, be sure that or the website rather, be sure that you know your target audience because your target audience might be black people, right? Might be white people. But when you are using this product and then they are giving you target audience from their end, then they might not probably work with your target audience, with which would be like black people, right? Because your products might be designed for just black people, and there are sometimes that your products might be designed for just kids, right? But using this product, they might not give you like the actual target audience that you really need that are going to be like using your product. You get so it is really advisable to work with like physically conduct this like this usability testing like yourself before they'll be giving you white people, Igbo people, black people, those people that we not even need. Yeah. Thank
Okay, ma. Thank you very much, ma. Thank you, ma.
All right. Thank you very much,
my
Addison, on this very interesting AME session. I must say I have learned a lot, and I'm very sure that I'm going to use one of these usability testing in my forthcoming projects. Okay, so I'll be passing it. I will pass part to Obi now to make the concluding part of it. Hi, Obi.
Yeah, hello Bayo, how you doing?
I'm very well, thank you.
Yeah, so yeah. All right, so thank you so much, Nick, for today's session. It's been a very insightful section, and I believe everybody has learned quite a lot from today's session. Right. So Nick, where can we find you if you want to connect with you? So where can we find you?
okay, where can you find me? So you can just find me on LinkedIn. I'm not really active on Twitter. I'm active on Instagram, but Instagram is like just fashion. So yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn at Nick Adesonye. Nick Adesonye. That's my name. And I'll really say there's something I want to say. I just want to say hi everybody. So this is Pagdos, right? And I was like a first set in Pagdos. So you guys are amazing. You guys are learning a lot. Fiwa is like she's an amazing mentor. So you guys are like I'll say you guys are opportunity to like hear from her because she is that like amazing. So yeah.
All right, thank you so much, Nick, for those words. Thank you. So, what we do, we usually do on Pexels, we take live selfies. So, this would be a very good time to take a live selfie. So, you can turn on your camera. I know the situation in Nigeria in some areas. If you're still in the trenches, so let's turn on your camera and let's take a live picture.
Yeah. Sad. There's no light here. So sad.
All right. So, I think our cameras are on. Okay. So say cheese.
cheese.
Okay, let's do one more. Say cheese, everybody. Okay, thank you so much, guys, for joining up. Thank you so much. It's been a very interesting session. So do have a lovely week. Try the rest. Tomorrow is a public holiday. Right. So try rest for the week. The next holiday, I think it's December 25. So enjoy yourself and have a good day. Bye.
Yeah, for everyone.